Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Beven. I'll be your unit coordinator for GSZN572, your workplace project. You'll have a series of short videos to review. This is by way of briefing so that you're actually in the right spot, in the right focus area, and really understand what the expectations are going to be for the conclusion of this unit to do your investigation for your project. This project, well, this unit more broadly, is actually a self-guided, self-directed unit. So what that actually means, you've got to take responsibility for the deliveries, the process, and the engagement, both with myself as a unit coordinator, but also back with your project sponsor, whomever they may be, yourself. So the success or not of this project will largely hinge on you. So as a unit coordinator, really think of me as the facilitator to give you some guidance. We'll have a series of consultations through the journey of the project, and that's really about checking in, making sure you're on track and that you're progressing at the rate you're going to need to, given the constraints that you will have, particularly in terms of time for delivering the outcome. So for this unit, as a workplace project, there are two broad contexts you might want to think about as a space for investigation. So the first may be in an organisational improvement context. So this is usually defined by a problem definition of some sort. This typically could mean some sort of effectiveness or an efficiency gap, or a lack of performance, or a perception that things could be improved, whatever the reality may be. So an organisational context is the primary focus of a lot of people. Similarly though, the unit itself also allows for a focus on certain types of investigations in terms of new venture opportunities. Now I must pre-qualify this at this stage. This will not give you the ability to write a business plan. So don't think you're going to churn out a business plan. Number one, we don't cover the content specifically that I would look for a business plan. But secondly, as an individual project, you just won't have the bandwidth to be able to deliver a quality outcome at the end of the unit. So in the context of a new venture, what can you do? So it may be about looking at one dimension of the new venture. It might be the feasibility. It may be the commercialization strategy, the business model design, something that is relatively deep in nature that allows you to get underneath the hood, as I'll say, to actually do some substance in that investigation to actually result in an outcome that's going to help the journey. So whatever the context is, think about what might appeal to you and particularly how you can leverage from it. So what I mean by that is it with a customer that you can engage to actually enhance your value proposition? Is it with your line manager back in your organisation? Is it with a potential line manager sponsor back in your organisation for a shift within your career? Think about how you can leverage from it to really demonstrate your capability of delivering. So when we actually go through this, what are we really looking for? The depth of investigation around something that's tangible, well-defined, and we'll talk about that in the next video about what I mean by that. But it's also about synthesising your learnings from across this program. As a capstone, this gives you an opportunity to bring in a range of discipline or thematic perspectives to your investigation. So it might cover, for example, strategy, change and implementation, or strategy, change and leadership. So what are the combinations within reason, it's got to be achievable, that allows you to get a depth of understanding to demonstrate critical thinking to create value for your sponsor. So the intent here is to be able to suck out that knowledge base that you've been exposed to, apply it in practice on a real world project, and it must be real. So it's not a hypothetical. So if you are looking at a new venture one, you've got to be able to convince me that it's real and it's not going to be superficial in that regard. So when you think about that journey you're going to go through, bringing that all together is the key challenge. So defining it, identifying the space, what your drivers may be on how you're going to leverage it, and what value you can deliver to your sponsor, but shaped in the academic investigative mode, is particularly from a thematic perspective, is really the capstone that you will deliver for your report at the end of the day. So stand by for video number 2, and then we'll get into a little bit more depth. Cheers.